Hello everybody, Grim here. Welcome to another Logitech X56 programming video. If I have bad audio, I apologize now because reasons. Okay? Um, so, I love to play DCS World in VR. It's wonderful. I don't want to play it any other way. The problem is there's a lot of frickin' buttons in DCS World. So, okay, you get yourself a HOTAS. Well, you need a HOTAS with a heck of a lot of buttons. Enter X56. Okay, great. Problem solved, right? Not so fast. One of the things you sometimes have to do is interact with buttons that are not mappable, such as the F keys, right? The function keys, F1, F2, F3, F4. For example, when you're playing with the radio, you need to interact with the tower in order to get them to turn on the runway lights when it's nighttime, low visibility conditions, etc. So the F keys are not directly mappable inside of DCS World. You have to map them with the software that comes with the the X56, and I swear you have to have a college degree to program this thing. It's ridiculous. It took me like an hour and a half to figure out how to do this, and there's really not that much current information available. So I got it working. I figured it out. Let's get into it, shall we? So what I want to do is I decided that I would like to switch my mode switch, which is this guy right here, down to the S1 mode, and then turn all my toggle switches into F keys. F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, X6, all the way up to F12, so that if ever I have to interact with an F key button inside DCS World, for some reason, I got it covered right on my HOTAS. I can do it with my eyes covered. I don't have to peek through the nose hole and try to push the button on the keyboard. Alright, so first things first, this doesn't happen inside a DCS World. This happens inside of the software for Logitech. Used to be SciTech. So you come over here, you click on this little symbol here, and here we are. We're in our software. And we're going to go to Programming, and we're going to click on the throttle pitcher. And now we're going to come over here to this teeny tiny little blue, we're going to click on Views. That's what I meant to say. We're going to click on Views, and you should have these columns here. Now, if you watch my previous video, you may have the mode selector switch set up. If you don't, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's not important for this video. But if you did, you may have something right here for your mode 3, your S1 mode. We have to get rid of that, or what I'm going to show you won't work. Okay? So we're going to come over here. We're going to left click on here. We're going to go to Unprogrammed. Okay? Now I'm going to save it with a little disc picture. I like to save things as I go along just in case I get into trouble. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to program the first toggle switch for F1 and F2. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my mode to M1. Okay, no, that's not a mistake. I'm going to do it on M1, and then I'm going to go ahead and push on my toggle switch. I'm going to make down the F1 button because that's my preference. And here I am now. Because I have mode 1 selected, it takes me over here and tells me that's switch 2. Well, that's okay, because over here on mode 3, which is where I'm going to work on, it is also switch 2. It's just switch 2 when mode 3 is turned on. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this. If something was written in here already, I would go up here, I would left click, and I would go to unprogrammed. Okay? But I'm already unprogrammed, so it's okay, it doesn't matter. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to left click, I'm going to go up here to new advanced commands. And you could give it a name here if you wanted to. But I don't bother. We're just going to call this F1. You don't have to give it a name. I don't know why it's even there. Normally I just ignore it. I'm going to click in here where it says press. And I'm going to hit F1. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this second F1. That's the first one is pushing the button down, and the second one is when you release the button. So it's simulating pushing and releasing the button, and it even says underneath how long to hold the button down. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to right click and hit delete. And I want this F1 over here to say 0.000. Okay? Then I'm going to say OK. So that should be it for that button. Okay, let's find out. So I have right here where it says F1 is going to be switch 2 and mode 3, and that's right. Now if I push that up, I want it to give me the F2 button. So let's see what happens. If I push it up, it tells me that's switch 1. So I'm going to come over here to switch 1 in the mode 3. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to left click here. I'm going to put new advanced command. I'm going to click on press, and I'm going to press it up. Sorry, what I meant to say is I'm going to hit F2. So I'm going to left click on highlight on the second half of that. I'm going to right click and delete that. So I'm going to say OK. Alright. Now what about the F3 button? Okay. Same thing. I'm going to go over here, and I've already got these programmed. Okay. So I have switch 4 on mode 3 set up for F3, F4, F5. It's all programmed in because I did this already. It's okay, it's all set. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and save. I have been told that when you hit the save button here, it actually programs it into the joystick. I didn't bother testing it, I just do it every time, just in case. Now what I want to do is I want to come over here and I want to hit test profile. Okay, now if I have it on mode 1, which is what I have right now, and I hit that switch, either nothing will happen or maybe something else will happen if you have it programmed. When I crank it down to mode 3, which is it'll light up S1 on the throttle. Okay, and now don't worry about control, that's because of the way I have mode 2 set up. I'm going to clear that out. So now if I just push and release that toggle, F1, F1, F1. See, it has a dark F1, that's when I'm holding the button down, and a light F1 right next to it, that's when I'm releasing the button. And if I was to hold this down, it does kind of like what you would expect a keyboard to do if you hold the button down until you let it go. So I'm going to test all my F keys, F1, F2, F3, F4, 5, 6, and then I come up on the side, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All my F keys are working. Okay, so now I'm going to say OK. I'm going to X this out. Make sure my software is still running. It is. I'm going to start up DCS World. I'm just going to start it up on the desktop. So there's one other thing that I have to do once I get DCS loaded, and that is I have to map my radio button so that I can turn on the radio menu on and off when I'm in the game. And I already did that. I'm going to show you guys, okay? So I'm going to come in here to the settings, and I'm going to go to controls, and I fly the JF-17. So if I push one particular toggle, which is joy button 19 on mode 1, for me, it tells me that that's radio comm 1, which is what I want it to be. Okay, here we are. So, let's see if we can interact with our radio. First I have to call up the radio menu, and it says if I want to talk to the tower I have to hit F5. Let's see if I can switch my mode selector down to S1, and voila, there it is. It says ATC is on number 2. There it is. It says if I want to do inbound, I hit F1.
Cookie, Uzi, 1-1.
I don't know if that jet noise is recording for you guys or not. So now, for any F key in DCS or any other game, frankly, it's programmed on my S1 mode selector, mode 3. And that's it. That's it for this video. Thanks for listening, guys. Enjoy DCS in virtual reality. Grim out.